Welcome to day 3 of the Wilbur Greater China Business Conference. Good to see you back here again with us. You know, we had a great first 2 days of the conference and we had a lot of important learnings. As you all remember, on the first day, we started with Kai-Fu Lee and followed that session with Zhongmin Song and Joe Roca. And several learnings came out, including the pace and magnitude of change in China, the role of AI, the unique context in China, including a large domestic market, a willingness to share data and try new services, core AI capabilities, and a strong entrepreneurial spirit. On the second day of the conference, we received some fascinating insights from Eleanor Leong from CLSA. Some of her thoughts were that everything will be AI in the future, that the critical role of high-speed fifth-generation mobile networks will enable innovation in a variety of areas, and that China is no longer following the US in technology, but in many areas is leading the world. We were also able in the second day to drill down on a specific case example, specifically Squirrel AI and the use of AI in education. And we had an address by Derek Lee, who's the founder of Squirrel AI. Some of the things that we learned there is the opportunity to address a digital and rural divide with AI in education, the virtual cycle of data and product improvement, where continuous improvement in insights leads to improvement in outcomes, leads to further utilization, leads to more insights, and that creates better and better outcomes with the platform. And finally, the idea that Derek shared with us that one day all of us could have a robot tutor as part of continuous learning. Now, the focus of today's conversation will explore the most promising areas of innovation in high-tech manufacturing, including Foxconn's transformation and technology-based innovations in healthcare. We have 4 specific goals for today. First, to develop an understanding of how technology is creating more opportunities in high-tech manufacturing, as well as future direction in areas such as AI, robotics, and autonomous vehicles. Second objective for the day is to cover the increasing role of data and AI and how that creates new business models and opportunities for new forms of monetization. The third goal for today is to look at the impact of COVID-19. How has that affected manufacturing? Where are the greatest opportunities and where are the greatest challenges? And the final goal for today is to take a closer look at how hardware and data are coming together to create new solutions, specifically within healthcare, and how these innovations will change healthcare itself. Now, in our first session, Jacob Chen, Vice Chairman, Hon Hai Foxconn Technology Group and founding president of Foxconn University, will look at promising areas of innovation, including a discussion of Foxconn's fascinating transformation. The second session will focus on a technology-based transformation of healthcare with 2 executives, Jason Wang, Director of Global Marketing, and David Yin, Group Vice President of Shenzhen-based Mindray Biomedical Electronics, a global medical instrumentation developer, manufacturer, and marketer. Now, this first session is going to be moderated by Professor James Yuann, who's an adjunct professor at MIT Sloan, Fudan School of Management, National Tsinghua University, and Shanghai Finance and Economics University, where he lectures on a variety of topics, including leadership practice, globalization, and China. James is also the former president of Honeywell's Specialty Materials Asia Pacific unit, where he built Honeywell's Asia leadership team. He doubled its revenue and relocated Honeywell's Asia headquarters from Singapore to Shanghai, where he established Honeywell's largest global technology center. Now, as a reminder, for all of our sessions, we'll have time for audience questions. Please pose your questions via the Slido tool, which is embedded at the bottom of your screen. You can either enter in your own question or upvote an existing one. Please now join me in welcoming Professor James Yuann.
Thank you, Terry. Welcome and thanks for joining us for this very important discussion in promising areas of innovation, Foxconn's transformation. In the past few days, just like many of you, I have been pondering the very powerful statement that Kai-Fu Lee made during his keynote speech. He said, AI is the next electricity. Data is the new oil. They are very powerful statements, very far-sighted. They point us to the future. But as an industry man for many years, I keep thinking that oil needs to be refining, manufacturing, to be converted into gasoline. Electricity has to be charged to apparatus, manufactured for different purpose for our daily use. So therefore, in addition to air and to oil and electricity, I like to say manufacturing is the backbone of our daily life. We have seen in many cases that the innovation has to be commercialized through efficient manufacturing. Vice versa, that manufacturing can also be advanced by good application of innovation. A good example is Foxconn. As some of you may know, that Foxconn was founded by Terry Gou in Taiwan in 1974 with $7,500 US as a startup money and 10 elderly workers making plastic knobs for television and radio in a rented shop. Within 47 short years, as a miracle, Foxconn has grown itself to the world's largest consumer electronics manufacturer, a company with $190 billion revenue and 1.2 million employees. Their business has been expanded into many advanced areas with the strong support of innovation. But Foxconn's fast growth miracle is created from a series of transformation, from a tiny labor-intensive factory to the world's largest electronics manufacturer. Foxconn goes through many stages of transformation, and on the other hand, I've been also thinking that we are living in a very uncertain time. On one hand, we listened to in the past few days how the high technology will take us to the to improve our living standard, but on the other hand, we are also seeing the rising tension between China and the United States. But on the other hand, we are seeing all those changes in the geopolitics, as well as the changes in all the pandemics that bring to us. So I think it's quite important let us to understand how a manufacturing giant like Foxconn to see where the challenges are and how they manage the challenge and how they manage the opportunities. With all those questions, I cannot think of anyone better than Jacob Chen, the Vice Chairman of Foxconn Technology, to be our speaker today. So Jacob, I'd like to ask you a number of questions. Oh, by the way, I'd just like to remind all of you to use the Slido as to ask questions. We do have allocated 20 minutes after the talk with Jacob to be the Q&A session. So please do write your questions on the Slido. The first question I'd like to ask Jacob is, Jacob, you have been through a very amazing career, beginning as a professor, a successful corporate executive, and in the past 20 years, you have witnessed the Foxconn going through a very fast growth through the transformation. And I would like you to tell us how Foxconn's transformation are and how and why you identify innovation as the most promising area for growth, please.
Thank you, Jim, and also thank you for Terry for inviting me to this exciting conference. Yes, I have an honor and opportunity to work in academic and corporate. And as Jim mentioned earlier, Foxconn has developed by or founded by our founder, Terry Guo, 47 years ago. And I will use the 9 phases to explain the transformation of innovation for the business model of Foxconn. Before the 1994, I will consider it as the phase 0. Just like any startup, Terry worked very hard to find a good business and try to survive and find opportunity to grow. So that I will consider a long phase 0. Then phase 1, that is really go outside of Taiwan, go to the world. That's a phase 1 from the 1994 to 1995. I consider it as the vertical integration of the supply chain. From our plastic knob to the other metal core component. For example, connector. And the Foxconn, actually the name is from our first global product, connector. The Fox Plus connector, that's equal to Foxconn. At that time, we are focused on the core technology development, and we are also doing lots of patents filing and the protections. The phase 2, that's between 1996 to 1998. I call it the reverse integration. And our key product is the PC and barebone system. And we use the business model we call the one-side design, two-side manufacturing, three-side delivery. And we utilize the disruptive innovation model. We compete with our customer. And we ask our customer to shut down their operation and give their operation to us. And you can see that is really, really interesting operation at the period. The phase 3 is 1999 to 2001. It's horizontal integrations. We convert from the barebone system into the final operating system. And we utilize the business model we call the component module move service, CMMS model. And that is the first time we started to have our overseas operation. We have some component operation in Philadelphia, also in Kansas. And that time, I have an opportunity to work with the Foxconn team to install our ERP system, SAP. That means we can transfer our data from our factory, from our shop floor to our operation unit, and also with our customer's office, and also their lab. Then the phase 1 and 2 is disruptive innovation model. Then the phase 3 is more like in a sustaining innovation model. We are working on in a very edit. Then the phase 4 is 2002 and 2003. We continue expanded our product line from our PC and to the other consumer electronic and communication product. So I call it is diversity integration. That time, we start to work with our customer to joint develop and also joint design. So we created two models we call the JDVM and JDSM, joint development manufacturing and joint design manufacturing. So from the phase 1 to phase 4, we consider us, we are more like an EMS company. We simply do the industrial manufacturing. So the phase 5, 2004 and 2008, and as I mentioned earlier, we integrate the whole value chain, not only for the product design develop, we also look in the procurement, etc. So that is we call value chain integration. That we have convert, from our joint development and joint design manufacturing into the joint ODM and ODM. And phase 4 and phase 5, we had also improved our business model from our industrial manufacturing to the technology manufacturing to add more value added. Then the phase 6, 2009 and 2011, we continue our value chain integration. And that is the first time we have, beyond the traditional ODM model. We call it innovative design manufacturing, IDM model. Our founder, Terry, has announced this model in the APEC in Indonesia that time. And phase 7, 2012 until now, is another level of the value chain integration. And we expanded innovative design manufacturing to the innovative integrations design manufacturing. So not just to provide our innovation to our product, we also integrate all the process. So that become innovative integration design manufacturing, IIDM. The phase 8, that's the most operating update innovation phase we have now, is continue our value chain integration. However, we not only do the design manufacturing, we also do the sales, service, marketing. So our business model become from IIDM into the IIDM SM. And from the phase 5 to phase 8, and instead of sustaining innovation, we become a more efficient innovation. And we all know from a disruptive innovation, sustaining innovation, efficient innovation, that have to be the closed loop. And no matter which innovation model you use, you have to continue to improve your operation efficiency. So continue improvement is the core we have in our innovations. So, and integration of our different model provide us the opportunity by implementing the 3 different technology. The first one is concurrent engineering technology. The second, varied engineering technology, so we can look at the product whole cycle from the design to the end of the life of the product. Then, of course, design for environmental, design for cost, design for assembly, etc. So that's the DFX. So our integrations model provide us opportunity to implement these 3 technology. So the Foxconn can help our product time to market as fast as we can, and run up our volume as fast as we can. So we call the time to market, time to volume, and time to money. So that is my comment for Jim's first questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chen, for giving us such a very comprehensive and very insightful description about your transformation. We understand that Foxconn has utilized AI to upgrade its own capability. What we really like to know is how you use your AI insight to help your customer to better their operation and also to make it as a new way to generate revenue for yourself.
AI is very important technology and also one of new business in Foxconn. And I totally agree the Kai-Fu Lee's comment. Indeed, Kai-Fu is a good friend of the Foxconn, a good friend of Terry and myself. And Kai-Fu served our Foxconn board with me in the last board period. And I will also share my personal view about the AI. And the goal of the AI actually is IA. So people worry about it. AI going to replace people, take over all the people's value out. And our personal view, the goal, objective of the AI indeed is to help to fulfill our philosophy of the people centers and help our people, humans' intelligence, amplify and augment it. So AI become the IA, intelligent amplification and augmentation. That's my personal view about the AI. And I have preached this philosophy inside of Foxconn, although many people may not agree with me. And of course, innovation, Terry said that, give the very simple definition about innovation. That is to make a difference and can be better. Make a difference and can be better. That's the definition defined by our founder, Terry. And I totally agree with that because the continuous improvement indeed is the cornerstone of the innovations. No matter you are disruptive innovation, sustaining innovation, or efficient innovations. And we begin with our, digital journey, or we say the digitalization journey since the 2000. That time, we installed our ERP system. We set it up our shop floor system for the real data collection and analysis and control or improvement if necessary. Then we started expanding from our shop floor control system to other value chain functions. For example, procurement, financial, HR, engineering, etc. Then, of course, through this all the development, we collect lots of data and how to convert those data into the useful information could be used in the business operations. So that is we utilize the AI. To begin with the AI, we begin with collect, accumulate, and compile all the technology knowledge and operation knowledge we have during our operation. Then we started utilize different algorithms in order to provide quicker and a more reliable, realistic conclusion or recommendation to our operations. And I will give you two examples. One example is AK technology and 5G data transfer we use in our SMT process. And through the AK technology, and as we all know, the AK is our, the 4.3 times sharper than our human eyes. Some of the micro punching violations in the SMT process may not be seen our human eyes or camera in the past. Through the AK technology and the 5G data transformation, will be easy and to identify those micro punching variation. So that will help through our AI, algorithm, we be able to accumulate enough knowledge to prevent it, those punching variations from happening again. So that really is the one example we have by utilize the AK and the 5G. Another one is we have just announced 3 months ago, we have utilized and developed a new unsupervised learning AI in our inspection of the data in our production line. Compared with our traditional practice, we will be able to use this unsupervised learning AI to reduce 50% of manpower in the inspections. Then, of course, and those technology help us transfer from our just simply the technology integration service provider into more comprehensive service providers. That's what I answered to your second question.
Okay, thank you very much. That was fascinating. I'd like you to tell us how Foxconn respond to or react during the pandemic times, and how you deal with the tension between U.S. and China nowadays.
Well, during my tenure with the Foxconn, I have personally went through this is my third time in the pandemic experience. The first one is SARS. The second one is H1N1. So to operate around millions employer in China, we really have to have lots of our countermeasures. Otherwise, we cannot resume our operation. We are really really proud. In China, we have resumed our operation in April. With our prevented countermeasure, we'll be able to accelerate our operations. And we are even to have a 4.3% of growth of our revenue last year during the pandemic. Of course, we have several activity we have used. To the beginning of the pandemic, we have our chairman and all our executive have daily meetings, and we organized according to the geographic area. Not in China, we also in the Asian Pacific, we have North American, we also have a Europe. So we have 5 major operation zone. So every zone we have the people in charge. We have a team consists of the medical officers, EHS people, our union people represented from all the staff and employer, also from our legal office, etc. So through communication, and we also develop our own protected equipment. So we are the one to set it up the mask line in every campus in China and Europe and Asian Pacific. Not only for our employer, we also help the local government. And just like in Wisconsin, we are the first one, the private company in Wisconsin to produce a mask. We even donate to the government and the local health institution. And of course, whenever you have crisis, you all come out of some opportunity. So we also take some advantage during this pandemic because our preparedness, our experience. So when our customer look into a rapid recovery, the Foxconn really take advantage for our large scale capacity, also our experience. And you may not believe we can recruit several thousand people a day and train them and to the accepted level, qualified level, to the production line. That is some other competitor or some others company are unprepared for the recovery. So that is the one. Of course, the tension between China and United States And despite of political reason, we still believe globalization is the way to go. Although the definition of the globalization could be redefined to become more regionalizations. And regionalization that will go to the different model. I believe 20-some years ago, we are talking about outsourcing. Now, some of that could become the reverse outsourcing. For example, for the strategic product, through this pandemic experience, people may not have confidence to rely on the other partners outside the region or country. So the strategic product or the more technology sensitive product or the high profit product, that could become the reverse outsourcing. And of course, through the tension, and customer may ask their service provider to diversify their facilities capability. So, and that's why some of the competitors have moved out their operation from China. You may not believe, last year, 70% of our production still in China. So we'll continue to grow in China in the other area. And the globalization indeed is one of our strategy. So no matter they have a pandemic or not, we will follow our strategy, our milestone.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. We got a few minutes left. We have heard all those excellent accomplishment that Foxconn has done. I just wonder, what do you see the future? What do you see the opportunities? What are the strong demand area that Foxconn like to work on? What particular project that you guys are working on these days?
Well, since last year's, when our new chairman on board, and we have initiative digital transformations from existing operation, we call the Foxconn 1.0, to optimize our current operation, to the Foxconn 2.0, digital transformation and optimization. Then Foxconn 3.0, and new industry or new technology. And we hope from our labor intensive operation into the technology intensive operation into the capital intensive operation. In the Foxconn 3.0, we are looking to the 3+3, our comprehensive strategic model. The first three is we have in a three new industry. The first industry is electric vehicle. The second new industry, new business Foxconn are doing is digital health. The third new industry we are focused or pursuing is, we say the robotics. And the way we select the new industry, or we call the promising area in the future, we have three criteria. The first criteria is they have to have the large market. For example, electric vehicle, currently they probably are running 3 million vehicles a year. But 18 years from now, they're going to grow by 10 times, from 20 to 2,500 to 25 million to 30 million vehicles. And we have set it up the goal, Foxconn will occupy 10% of the market share. Then of course, the second criteria we have is they have to have a compound annual growth rate, have to also large enough. And we believe no matter the EV or digital health or robotics, they all have 2-digit compound annual growth rate. Of course, the third criteria we are using to select new business or new product is relate to our Foxconn's core competency. We are not going to, find out the new industrial without our core competency. Our core competency could be in supply chain or product design or development, and also our, experienced talent. So I believe digital health, robotic, no matter industrial or commercial or EV, will be the product and project we are working on.
Very, very nice. Very impressive. We are about running our interview time. It's time that we are going to do some Q&A. We got quite a few, many questions. Apparently, your talk, Dr. Chen, have made a very good impression on the audience. The first question we have here is, what are some changes Foxconn has faced when developing AI that can be unsupervised?
Well, I think the data we have, because every BU, they have a different product, affiliates different customers. And so the silos of all the data is one of the challenge. How are you going to protect the confidential information still can connect and integrate all the data? So that is the first one, the challenging. Also, without the data, the algorithm of AI is useless. Of course, you can argue with me. You can have a simulated data or referring data, etc. But you still need to have a scenario, the real practice scenario. You can collect the data. But there have several other considerations you have to consider. The first, how smart, how accurate, how fast you can sense and collect the data. So that's I mentioned earlier, we have smart sensing device we have developed. And also, lots of data, how fast you can process and where you can store it. So the information processing and also the storage is become another challenge. That is why Foxconn has developed a patent technology. We call the agent computing. Also, instead of cloud, we have the fog storage technology. Not every data have to go to the cloud. You can be the local, just like the fog. And you can have the much faster feedback. So those are the some of consideration and recommendation I would like to present to our audience. But don't forget it. Don't be scared by the AI, because the goal of the AI is IA.
Okay, that's very good. Very good. Thank you. Now, the next question is a little bit on the soft side. What kind of culture challenges does Foxconn face as a Taiwanese founded and based company?
Well, to me, I would consider as the Taiwan-based executive working in China. And I do not see too much challenge. And I have been in the United States, and I taught in University of Houston and University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. I really consider no matter where the student come from, and I treat them fairly. And what we have in China operation, in other operation, our founder, Terry Go, always try our best to do the localizations, to utilize the local people, to in charge the local operation for the local market. And that is our fundamental principle. And at the same time, we have also transformed our corporate cultures. from our more disciplined culture to become more ES, human or social, environmental conscious cultures. And by adding up the 7 new components to our corporate culture, for example, agile, continuous learning, innovations, etc.
Okay, very good. Well said. The next question we have is, do you think the competition in the manufacturing space will be driven by manufacturers using AI in novel ways, or from AI tech companies moving into manufacturing?
Well, just as I say, if the pure AI company, and this is just my personal viewpoint, for the pure AI company without political scenario for the manufacturing, that will be very difficult to validate their algorithm or their business model. So nowadays, my personal view is the manufacturer company, they will install and develop their own AI capability. So I'm not that kind of optimistic about the pure quote unquote AI company. So I strongly recommend that those they call the AI company, they need to find their partners. Otherwise, it's very easy to develop the AI skill, because my personal experience, I started to do research from the 1983, and we can discuss lots in the laboratory, in the classroom, but find a real world to practice, to validate what you say and prove what you say. That's more important.
Okay, sounds fair. We also have one question which is addressing the current market situation. The students, there are quite a few students who would like you to speak about the current market landscape. And I think particularly they want you to talk about is the great chip shortage. How is Foxconn addressing this issue? Do you have to face any shutdown or any, I remember in the my industry days is you allocate, you go through the allocation system to your customers.
Well, for this shortage issue, and at this moment, we have no impact at all. Okay, that is from the 3 different preparation we have in the past. The first one, we work closely with our key component suppliers. So we work closely so we will know, what they have, and they will know what we need. So that is the first thing. The second thing, and we do have, very good plannings in ahead of time with the cooperation of our customer. So the order we have, we already, send it to our supplier in ahead of time. The third thing is, we work with our supplier as the very chance. We co-design some of the component. So that is how, we can avoid the shortage at this moment. But if it continues, last another 6 months or 1 year, then we maybe have to take another, actions to avoid the impact. But as I say, Foxconn have been all kind of different business, different kind of product. So we be able to balance our product line to ensure we will continue to grow.
Yes, it sure is. So it's really great to hear that the diversification sometimes works out well. The students really come up with some very interesting question. This one actually I was thinking to ask you, but when quite a few students ask those questions, they say they ask you, continuous innovation generally comes with overcoming great struggle. How does Foxconn deal with struggle in innovation? How do you adapt?
Well, if you look at our definition, innovation, it is the continuous improvement. And this is the way we do the innovation. We are not doing the inventions. Okay? So we have spent lots of time to cultivate, to establish our continuous improvement cultures. So we set it up the program and coach our every employee to learn the skill how to do the improvement. And we set it up the competition, forum, etc. And we also set it up a KPI for each individual worker, engineering, and even the executive to carry out the Kaizen, we say the continuous improvement. And I will also let the people know, once you have these cultures, have this mindset, and you will run the innovation more smoothly. But I would like to also share with you, people will not take innovation by itself or himself or herself. Most of innovation indeed is forced by outside, either from a customer or the market or the other external environment. So we always have this mindset. If nobody force us, then we force ourselves. So that is the one we have this culture. So we can run through no matter it's disruptive innovation, sustained innovation, efficient innovation more smoothly, especially in sustaining innovation and efficient innovation. We have implemented the lean technology, lean philosophy with the theoretical background in the industrial engineering. Every employee in Foxconn has to learn i.e. fundamental skill and knowledge.
Very good, very good. You remind me that people say only the paranoid survives. So
Yes.
you always, worry about something could happen. But please allow me to ask you a question. Take this question and one step further. I understand that innovation is different from invention, but even innovation is a culture that you have to, develop in your organization. As a giant manufacturer, scale of economics, the speed to the market, to your customer, the quality, all those are important consideration. That's also your core competence. But on the other hand, how do you deal that with any failure? Because when you have such a KPI to expect your employee to accomplish, and that is absolutely necessary. But on the other hand, how do you allow mistakes from happen?
Well, if in operation we would like to have an error-free operation. But for the innovation, invention, yes, we are forgiven lots of error as long as mistake or failure are acceptable. Okay. And many of our executives, many of our senior leaders, they may have their initiative fail. My personal experience during tenure in Foxconn, I have some I feel proud, and I also have something I feel bad. Okay, not every innovation or invention are successful. And also, we used to have a global research unit. Now we even set it up to 5 research institutes with the future technology and market trend, we installed 5 research institutes last year: AI, semiconductor, next generation communication, and cyber security, and also the quantum computation. Our goal for those 5 research is they have inventions with the product and could be commercialized 5 to 7 years from now. After 5 to 7 years from now, they transfer those technology into the business unit to make it in a commercial product. So that is the one, we create another environment to protect our talent, to worry about the failures, and also provide the environment we can have a more new initiative. At this moment, I know we have 10 new projects ongoing among these 5 new technology, and nobody know how the fate is it.
Very good, very good. We can take only one more questions because we've got only a couple minutes left. The question is, I think it's also very important. What types of retaining of Foxconn workforce do you believe are necessary as AI and automation is implemented into the manufacturing process? I think this is a question in most people's mind. When AI really becomes the electricity or oil, what would you do?
Well, I think that automation or AI is not new terminology in Foxconn, and we have using a robot 20-some years ago, and we are the number 1 company utilize the robot in the production line in terms of number of robots. Okay, and so our employees already get used to it, and that's why we had spent a lot of effort try to rescaling and upscaling our workforce, and that's why the Foxconn University's main missions. We try to convert those employees used to be a manual operation. Once their operation have replaced by the robot or AI, we hope they can learn some programming or some repairment, maintenance for our automatic facilities. So the rescaling and upscaling of our workforce is really a big challenge to us.
Okay.
And we also create a certification in our system, and that it can also solve the problem of the gap.
Yes, I think it's quite important that you have paid attention to it and try to fill the gap of skills and help the employment to be sustained or to minimize any possible reduction. Before I finish for the interview with you today, I have a quick question for you. As a scholar and a successful executive, looking back your career and your experience, what is the advice you will give to our audience today for their career?
The first one I would like to suggest, and the world still a threat, no matter the tension between the different countries. So I still strongly recommend it, and all the ordinary students, especially the students, they have to have an open-minded and to grasp all the opportunity there will be to set it up, the network, to learn in the outside world. The second thing, to learn the new skills, no matter soft skill and hard skill, outside your own professional domain. The third one, you don't be shy from to apply the opportunity to work with industrial, no matter is in a summer internship or the co-op program. So they can give you the first hand to find out your interest and to help you to prepare for your future career. So the self-learning, continuous learning, that's my advice as a scholar.
Wonderful. I think that's very true. I think learning is really a very important part of our life, especially work become a big part of our life. Only when we go through the learning, we enjoy it, and we feel there's always something new for us to overcome. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Dr. Chen. I want to thank you for making time to talk with us today. You have given us a very clear overview how a manufacturing company can start from very, very tiny factory all the way to the largest one in the world with such a short period of time with innovation. You have tell us how, why, and how innovation becomes a very important part of the growth of any manufacturing company. And I also very much appreciate your comments about the culture and what you are doing for your employees to fill up the skill gap, although it may not be for now, but for the future. That's very, very thoughtful. I think from your talk, we can see that Foxconn has a long way to accomplish. You have done great for the company, for yourself, and for the country, for the world. Thank you very much. So.
Well, thank you, Jim, for hosting this session, and thank you, Terry and Lucy, for inviting me for the wonderful conference. Thank you, all the audience, for your attention. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And I also want to remind the audience that there will be now a 5 minutes break, and but do please join again in 5 minutes for the next session, technology-based transformations of healthcare. Thank you very much.